Okay, so as you can see, we have our lovely Kate here. Um, she's just so wonderful. I prepared a little note about why I asked her to conduct this workshop. So she's a researcher that has like 6 years of experience. The something that's really incredible is that she used to work at Lyft, where she was focused on member ecosystem driving research that supported business metrics, enterprise growth, and user retention. So this topic of making it count is really something that she's extensively experienced in. And so I'm excited to learn from her. She also has a master's in human computer interaction and a background in both UX and service design. And so something that is also, which you probably have seen already, is she's so personable and it's so easy to connect with her. But she, at the end of one of the sessions she conducted for us at Humana, she said that she loves collaboration and doing workshops. And that's when I was like, I loved your workshop. So do you want to come and do this for the Interaction Design Foundation group? And she said yes. So here we are. And I'm going to hand it over to her so she can take it away and start our little session.
Yay. Thanks for that amazing intro, Neha. Really appreciate that. Yeah, like Neha was saying, I love facilitation. It's like the most gratifying part of the work for me. And I have worked at like big companies, more established startups, small companies. I've been an in-house researcher. I've done more like consultancy, agency type of stuff, and really just have gotten the opportunity to like experience all the flavors of design and research. I am a senior UX researcher. I have a background in UX design and service design. Like she said, my master's degree, I went to IIT in Chicago, if you guys know, the Illinois Institute of Technology at the Institute of Design there. Got my master's in human computer interaction and design strategy and just fell in love with it. And I learned a lot about facilitation while I was there. And I just love sharing my experience. And I'm sure that all of you have like your own nuggets of wisdom. So I'm hoping that this session can be conversational and relaxed and where we're kind of having this exchange and transfer of knowledge. And I'm excited to share what I've prepared for you all. Let's see, what else? I think that's mostly it. I'm just excited to be here. I'm a huge process nerd, so like this kind of thing is like I'm like salivating. And so with that, let us begin. I have everyone's favorite mirror board that I'm hoping we all can jump into. We tested the permissions, so everyone should have access without issue. So if you wouldn't mind, please join me here. And we'll start with, again, everyone's favorite icebreaker. But this has been my favorite one recently. Okay, so I see some folks. Oh yeah, oh yes, and definitely share your LinkedIn. The purpose of this is like to connect and extend our networks and just kind of make this digital world feel a little more human. Okay, so this icebreaker I love. What did your 18-year-old self think that you would be doing today? And I can start. Mine was that I would be living in New York, working as a fashion editor. I was very inspired by The Devil Wears Prada and Sex and the City growing up. I think like a lot of people. And I like applied for college in London. I got into the London College of Fashion. I didn't end up going, but that's definitely what my 18-year-old self thought I was going to be doing. What about you all? And feel free to add your name unless you want it to be anonymous, but the types of permissions here just have you all as like visiting this, visiting maker, visiting drafter. So, uh, yeah, I'll give us like maybe 2 minutes to do that. Let me just add that and I can do some fun music. Let's see, Sunshine Jam. There's so many different responses here. Architectural engineering, took one class and hated it. I still love architecture though. I thought I'd be a doctor in India. I thought I'd be directing films. I did end up having a career in film, though not a director, and then pivoted. Sasha. Oh, so that's why you have so many friends in LA, I'm sure, right? The kind of.
One of the reasons. I was always based in New York though. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So cool to talk. I'm really into film. Like recently, I was a volunteer at Sundance, and I love it so much. Do you have Letterboxd? Are you on Letterboxd?
I just started it actually for some competitive auditing, but I'm
Yeah,
not a really active user yet. So,
I love Letterboxd. It's like my whole world right now. Okay, being a diplomat. Oh, that's cool. I had a diplomat era. I thought a being a marine biologist and me and boats don't mix well. I have a design studio and I would do crafts, pottery, textiles. This is so cool. Fiction writer or something in local politics. Cool, cool. I feel like all these careers, like I could see how you could like circumvent it into design and like UX. Very cool. Like the doctor, like empathy, fiction writer, directing film, architectural, creative, science studio, marine biologist, like analytical research. Very cool. Awesome, awesome, cool. Well, thanks for partaking in that, and let's just jump in because we're coasting on time a bit. So the format of this workshop will be part lecture and part exercises, and the goal is that we walk away having co-created what I call a tracking tool, but it can be, a framework for you as either a researcher or a designer to articulate your impact as an individual and think about how it's sort of situated in the broader organization. I am coming at this more from a research perspective. That's kind of been my focus since grad school, and I will say that a lot of the things throughout can be kind of substituted with design, particularly when we get into measurement. But again, yeah, the tool that we create together can always be, adjusted to whatever design measurements and metrics that you see fit. Okay, so let's start with cause and effect. I would say that we all want to know that what we do in life matters. It's kind of one of the most natural, basic contracts that we come into in this like human form. We want to understand and know that our actions affect the world around us. I was in last year, I was reading this book, kind of reading this book with one of my coworkers called Bullshit Jobs. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I think that's also very telling of like where we were at this place. I guess, was it a year ago? I think so, it was a year ago. And one of the parts of the book was talking about how babies intuitively are testing this idea of cause and effect, right? Like if you've ever held a baby and it just kind of like slaps your face, how they do sometimes, they're like looking for a reaction, or like they drop something and they're looking for a reaction. It's this very deep part of being human, this intuitive, thing of our psychology. And so in a business context, how we affect the organization is tied to our individual value story. But as things become more and more digital, right, it's like your impact becomes so abstract. Like I started in industrial design in my grad program, and it's like very tangible. You're able to see with like the principles of like gravity what's working and what's not working, and you register it better because it's physical. But because of this digital world, it can be kind of like, what value am I doing? I'm moving pixels, and like, what is the experience like on the other end? All of those things. And so what we're hoping to do today is make that a bit more streamlined and easier to parse through. If you're here, you probably have a desire to track impact, so I won't go into this too much, but a little bit around why it's good, good for you, good for your stakeholders, good for your team members. It strengthens your UX chops. I think most importantly for the individual, it helps with, I get like your value story, like I had mentioned, with performance and promo justifications, thinking things like, I've really been working hard to deliver research or design that equips my team with what they need to make key decisions, and I feel like I want to take that next step and I want a promotion. And So there's a lot here that when I think about it, it's like a self-advocacy thing, and you want to be able to just have that really tight and really firm. And also I've been laid off from tech companies before too, and part of that thinking about it now is like maybe sometimes our leaders aren't the best articulating our value. And so being really clear on that yourself, I think gives you like some insurance. And also, that's a separate conversation with your leaders, but being aware of like how good your leaders are at that kind of advocacy. And then obviously with stakeholders and team members, we're providing them with a credible contributor. We're supporting them throughout a project cycle. For organizations, we're keeping them accountable to users. We're driving research or design that drives positive business outcomes, and we're just making it easier on them to understand the value of research. That's something that I think about a lot. Okay, let me know if I'm going too fast. But yeah, any of these could be swapped for design too, if there's any designers, or there are some designers on the call. And so as a researcher, I did a bit of secondary research and found these little nuggets that I really enjoyed. And I have all of them linked later on if you want to dig into them further. But I love this one of the true value of user research, however, is the influence it has on the work of others, the user's experience, and the bottom line. If we don't track the ways in which user research has impact, we risk not knowing whether we had impact at all. And a lot of these things might feel intuitive, but like when you're caught up in the day-to-day and you're just really focused on the project work in front of you, you might not be thinking about these things, or you might just be like, I need to finish this project. I'm tired. I don't want to think about how it connects to impact. And that's very relatable. I also love this one over here that I would get this question a lot from some of my like more skeptical product managers just like throughout time, who were more into like had a favor for like the data scientists more than maybe the researchers. But it was this thought of like, well, how do we prove that it was research that made the difference with this product outcome? And I think that we don't need to get too like sterile and clinical and crazy about it. There was this great festival, the UX Insight Festival. I don't know if any of you have attended, but there were these speakers, and I couldn't find the original video, but they were basically talking about, it's not about perfect causality, right? It's just about telling this credible, connected story. And I like this example here. Like, we ran 5 studies on topic X. This led to 3 changes, and since then, NPS has rose from 42 to 55. Like, anything as simple as that, like, I'm claiming it. Like, I'm like, yep, my work influenced retention. I did research on 6 things. I gave you, 3 insights. One of them got shipped, or gave you some recommendations that then folded into a feature that got shipped. Our retention increased. Awesome impact. That's kind of how we're going about it, I think. And one thing I will say too is, like, if you're in an organization where you feel like tracking impact is an afterthought, that's a good indicator, to me at least, of the UX maturity. Like, when I was at Lyft, tracking impact was like very serious business. There were like spreadsheets. When it came time for perf and promo, like, you were referencing these things. You followed up with your stakeholders at a 3-month point, at a 6-month point, and you would track like, okay, it's been shipped now, or it got deprioritized, or whatever, and you'd list out your recommendations. Like, it was very serious business. The UX maturity was very high. I've worked at some organizations where they're just like, whatever, we're gonna build the thing we want to build, might sprinkle in a little research here and there. And so always just a good little indicator, a little meter. And then this is an example framework I like. It's pretty intense, but I think it shows that there's just a lot of different levels to this, and you can kind of copy and paste as you see fit. If you feel like it's important to connect what you're doing to like societal value, like maybe you work at a nonprofit, or maybe your startup is very like ecology focused, or there's like this very wholesome societal value related to the work that you're doing, you could do that. I think it's always good to have business value and user value very clearly articulated. But yeah, this is just an example. I'm not going to get too deep into this. This is more for you to reference later, especially if you're a researcher, but I do love this as kind of a baseline. So if you're someone that hasn't really thought about your impact, and you're a little bit overwhelmed by something like an impact tracker that I was mentioning before, I like this as kind of a spectrum of like easy to hard. Like if you can start small. Like everyone on this call, I think should have a kudos folder. And it's where you have like little screenshots that you've taken from like things that people have said about your work. Like this was like right when I first started at Humana and I had like shared my very first research report and somebody had reached out to me and was like, this was great. It's like, awesome. I'm putting that in my kudos folder so that when it comes time for performance and promo, like I'm ready to rock and roll with that. And I have, it also jogs my memory of like the things I've done that I'm proud of. But yeah, keeping a folder of shout outs is a really smart thing. And then if you want to bump it up a little bit, I like this aggregated recommendations deck, which basically every time I do a research project, I have a table similar to this one where I have the findings, the recommendations, the priority level, and the effort level. And I have it as in the same format for every single deck that I do so that I just copy and paste it and I have my own slide deck that has all of them from all the projects that I've done. So I can track the findings that I've given to people and the recommendations that I've suggested and whatever. That also makes it easier when you want to do something like this impact tracker. This isn't a great example, but, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but this is like what I aspire towards. Even I am sometimes like, oh, I don't want to update this thing after the project is finished, but I will. Or like, oh, I don't want to check in and like have a quarterly check-in because like that's so annoying. But it really has made a difference in the way that when it comes time to articulate my value and also just the confidence and self-satisfaction that it gives me. I feel like I want to proselytize that this is like an awesome tool, especially if you can maintain it. Okay. That was a lot of talking at you. Thank you for bearing with me. I'd love to open it up a little bit to any of the things that I've shared or I know we're all strangers. We haven't had time to really like dig into each other's like past, like what is new to you or maybe what you've already heard before or what's worked for you. Like what do you think and how do you measure impact? Feel free to unmute and share, or if you want to drop something in the chat, I can also look there as well. Oh yeah, and I'll add my LinkedIn too afterwards. But yeah, any thoughts? Anyone have any thoughts about impact? Is there like, do you feel like you're really good at measuring impact, or do you feel like your organization isn't the best at it? Just anything goes.
I think for me, it's like I don't realize a lot of the things that could be counted as impact. Like when you say kudos folder, I've had some kudos, but I don't ever document them because I don't think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, that's interesting. We all like perceive value differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I especially try to pay attention when it's stakeholders like that aren't researchers that are like, hey, this was really helpful. Thank you. Like if an engineer, I would work a lot with engineers at Lyft and we'd have like a really close partnership and they would be like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. Like I'll be thinking about this like when I'm building or whatever, like especially with design. I think the closest is with design. But I also find it can just be like a nice little confidence boost of like, okay, at least one person like resonated with this. Great. But yeah, anyone else have any thoughts or like feel like there's something that they would want to grow in?
I can share. So the company that I work with has done multiple rounds of layoffs. So now I'm doing like four positions that I never signed up for. I am the only one. I'm UX researcher, which we don't do much research, but I'm the UI designer. I'm the product person. I also do like product management. It's sort of all thrown at me all at the same time. So I've struggled lately really with feeling like I'm actually doing anything because I'm so spread thin
Yeah.
that I don't get to see like the outcomes of it, that I don't feel like I'm making an impact at all. And I was just saying that I wrote myself a Jira card that said, respond to this email just so I could check it off and be done and have something that was tangible and done for my pile of stuff. Like, oh, look, I actually completed that today. Because I just
Yeah.
sort of feel like it's just this ongoing chaos. So it never dawned on me to make a kudos folder. So that totally makes sense. Because I do get those on occasion too, which, yeah, I know I'm making an impact, but it's just not as prevalent as what I need to see to make myself feel that way. So that's pretty cool.
A great point.
Yeah, that's such a
Um, Shreya,
so.
you had your hand up?
Hello. I think when I started measuring, like, all the research projects that we have done and how do we measure impact and what are the different ways we can do it, I created a Miro board and invited all the project managers, all the stakeholders who I spoke to, and well, different teams I worked with when I was collecting questions and asking them about what decisions do they need to make. And once the research was over, everyone was invited on that Miro board, and they wrote about different levels of impact, whether it was organizational impact, product impact, culture impact, and how did it like affect like the other projects that we were also working. So there were different boxes of impact, and they could write in like a positive or a negative or like a plus one, or I tried different emojis where it requires less effort for them to document that impact.
Hmm.
And I kept that for all the other projects coming in also. So every time we have a project and it's a game over kind of a thing, where we would have music, discuss about what we learned, but also how many decisions did we make, how did this affect the business or the other projects that we were working on. So yeah, that was an effort to just document like a Miro board with all the project impacts there.
So you did multiple projects at once and like listed them out and talked about the impact with the team.
Initially, I did one at a time to understand and make that format and template better. Like,
Hmm.
what kind of a template do I need to make in first place? And once that was over, I tried it out with different teams across the globe. One was in North America, and then Europe, and then I was trying with the all different teams, and then I started collecting with 2 to 3 projects together that were related. So if at all we triangulated the research, we had a survey plus in-depth interviews, and we collected it. And this was like project, like different phases of the project, and then we would do it together.
Okay, yeah, if you have the luxury of like you bring up a good point of if you have the luxury of being able to do like a post-launch survey or like measuring something about your like measure something and then conduct the research and then measure that thing again, that's also a nice way to kind of bookend your work. It sounds like you were able to do that with surveys. Yeah, but I love that idea. I think if you have the luxury of building in this kind of thing at the end of a project, it makes it easier also in your research plan or your design brief if you identify what your success metrics are going to be too, like in the beginning.
Yeah,
And
one
I'm
of
not
the
saying this to you,
things.
I'm just saying to everybody like that's
Yeah, one of the things we learned was that even so, we have a whole research team, and there are there are product managers, and I work for a company that's a home appliance manufacturing company. So we build like physical as well as digital aspects of the appliances, and I think it tracking those impact helped us make a writing format of
Hmm.
how do we deliver research. So what kind of what kind of language do we use, what are the action items do we use, and how is it that designers or product managers understand that insight and then use it. So what are the actionable insights that we need to write better so that they can just take it and run.
that sounds like a really great resource. I don't know if you could share it with folks or some kind of, if you have like a blank template or something you could share with folks afterwards. I bet people would really, really appreciate that. But that sounds very robust. Yes, so if you have that kind of flexibility at your jobs, I would recommend, yeah, trying to build that into your overall project cycle too, so that your stakeholders anticipate you spending time and energy to do that. Yeah, if not, we could talk. But the spectrum I shared, at least take care of yourself with the kudos folder. Okay, in the interest of moving forward, so we have enough time for the exercises, I'm gonna jump in. So glad that you're all here. I see some of you looked ahead. It's fine, it's fine. You looked ahead, it's fine. I contemplated covering it up and doing a release, very dramatic reveal one at a time, but It's all good. Okay, so starting with this first exercise, this is one of my favorites. It's called Wouldn't It Be Great If? It's really easy and simple, and you can use it for all kinds of contexts. It's a super juicy ideation exercise, and it's all about listing your wishes, essentially. So feel free to be as like grandiose as you want to be with this one and get creative. And the idea actually is that in this 5-minute period, in this 4-minute period, populate as many wishes as possible. So when it comes to so answer this question. When it comes to tracking your UX impact, wouldn't it be great if? So you're gonna have 4-ish minutes to, excuse me, get hiccups. To do that, I'm gonna start the timer now. Oh, I have hiccups. Okay, and then I'll put on this calm, smooth groove, and yeah, and then we'll vote on these top ideas and carry them over into our next exercise. Oh, that didn't work. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Nice. Okay, pencils down. I was also looking at some of the comments. Thanks y'all for chiming in there with the frustrations. I think we can all relate to that. I like what you were saying, what Scott put about accountability around reporting team member impact and contributions, and sounds like you're, yeah, advocating for like the communication of the impact of your team members at a high level and like ensuring that visibility. That's like some A1 leader stuff that I've learned from good managers and not so good managers. Oh, thanks for resharing the link too. But yeah, that was great. That was super cool to read. I feel like, yeah, managers, They got to be advocates, but okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, so folks, let's see. We've got, wouldn't it be great if teams communicated more frequently? If we could find the data points we want on demand. Ooh, here, here. We all had an impact meter floating above us so we can tell who's sloughing off. That's very funny. It's kind of Black Mirror. Like you just have a value meter hanging above your head.
Yeah, that was totally me.
Yeah, no, I love it because it's kind
Because
of
I mean, there's just some people that get all this credit that they really honestly didn't do very much or didn't help out, or literally it was like all you or whatnot. And it's really hard to just sit there and be like, well, okay,
you
that's
know.
not it for them.
know, and some people value things differently. Like at Lyft, there was like a huge emphasis on culture and like the impact that you would have by like, I don't know, like facilitating events or like participating in some kind of fluffy non-project related thing, which I thought was cool to like have an organization that prioritizes that. But sometimes, when you're like really deep in the trenches doing project work that's like affecting the lives of drivers or riders, and you're like, getting, this didn't happen to me, but like passed up for a promotion because you didn't do enough culture stuff. It's like, come on now. Come on now. Okay, we had an official tracking tool integrated with performance review systems. That's kind of a cool idea. Could we use AI to help us update our impact tracker somehow? Impact metrics already laid out for us. See, that's the key. That is the key, is truly your organization should have like a 3-year strategy of like, these are the metrics that we're measuring success against, funnel everything up into that. But what a perfect world that would be. Let's see, if someone was interested or responsible, was their job to actually show impact for each and every team member of the team. That's your manager, in my humble opinion, is like, it's part of their job to help you like articulate the impact that you're making and also give you tips on like how to advocate for yourself, but advocating for you as well. In a perfect world. Okay, great. So let's do a really quick vote on these. Okay, I'm gonna give everyone like 2 votes. 2 votes, 1 minute. And you can vote on 1 vote per object? No, no, no. Okay. Alrighty, 2 votes, 1 minute. And I think all the votes are anonymous. Okay. And then once everyone's done, I think it will show me a number. I haven't done it in Miro in a minute. We've got 35 seconds left in voting. And the idea too with voting is like, what's an idea you want to develop further? Or something you're just interested in. Okay. It is preparing results. Okay. Ooh, impact metrics. Okay, that's a leading one. And we could find data points we want on demand. Cool. And then a couple others. Great. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is bring everyone over to exercise number 2. How do I bring everyone to me? Is that something I can do? Bring everyone to me. Oh, that was so aggressive. Okay. Come to me. Okay, so this is another one I like. So if the first one we did was like an ideation exercise, this one is more of a light developing, light solutioning exercise I like to call loves, builds, key concerns. We've got this triangle here, this example. So say wouldn't it be great if I could easily stay in the loop on launch data and progress / metrics of the launch? So what do I love about this idea? Well, it keeps stakeholders thinking about how other functions like design or research contribute to OKRs and overall success. It keeps the momentum going. And if it's easier to stay in the loop, like there's less friction to document and articulate, again, our value. Some of the builds are, what if it was a quarterly review with stakeholders to share this launch data and metrics would make it easier for me as a UXer to jot down the impact, instead of having to chase it or talk to all these people or, whatever. We're assuming a lot would have to be in place too for some of these things. There's a degree of sophistication here that if you acknowledge is not in your organization, A, you could try to find another place, or B, you could try to be the change, right? Like Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. I think that was Gandhi. And coming back to this exercise, key concerns. There's a lot of manual work to keep up with results of shipped features and launches most of the time, because again, you have to chase it, so that would be a problem with this idea. So we're gonna do in the next like 10-ish minutes or so, we're gonna go into breakout rooms, everyone's favorite, yay! And I'm gonna pull some ideas over here that we were top voted. So team 1 would be Shreya, Beth, Sasha, and Monica.
We don't have that many people as
Yeah,
we were registered, so I'm just gonna move people
yeah.
around.
Whoever's around, yeah, that's fine. Just so that it ends up being like an even split. And then with your team members, you're going to use the Love Builds Key Concerns framework to kind of further this idea a little bit. And let me give you, it's like 8 minutes or so, because I don't think we need too much time. I'm gonna pull this one and this one, this one, this one. So I'm just pulling over some of the wishes that were top voted for people to develop. Do you have the breakout rooms cooking already?
Yeah.
Great. Great, great, great. Okay. And yeah, they might look a bit different now because of our attendance is a bit different, but as long as you're in a group with people, that's the important part.
Okay, so everybody is in group.
Oh,
We
great.
ended up
Are you
having
logged in
to,
twice?
was that?
Are you logged in twice? I see your
Yeah,
name.
I always do that just in case if I have, hold on.
You're back. Great. Wonderful. Okay, I'm excited. Is everyone back? I think so. Oh my gosh, my tile is like a perfect 3 by 3. It's so satisfying. Oh, somebody's,
Um,
is that everyone?
no, team one is still there.
Okay. We'll be kicked out on this side, right? Wait, no, Shreya, Sasha, y'all
I'm
are
here. Yeah, I think we got sent back.
okay.
Okay, good. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for confirming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm gonna just kind of skim through these because I want to make sure we have time for the final exercise. So this was great. This was sort of intended for you to just think about and develop an idea that maybe you could bring to your organization or you could apply to yourself and just give yourself some space to think about like, yeah, what would it look like if I took impact tracking a little bit more seriously? What could I feasibly do? So looking at team one, theirs was we had impact metrics already laid out for us. That was the most top voted selection. The loves are aligns everyone and reduces ambiguity, gives people a clear idea of what to track. Absolutely. Builds are clear KPIs at the start of established at the start of the project. Establish a clear framework for measuring success, clear timelines, map interdependencies. Make clear how outcomes will change the direction of the work. Yeah, I love that. I love that. In all my research plans, I have a table and it's question, hypothesis, and key outcomes this will inform. And I feel like that kind of just helps us also think about like if the squeeze is worth the juice. It's like if you do all this really heavy foundational research, but like ultimately, you're affecting like 2 buttons, the color of a button or something. It's like, is the squeeze worth the juice? And then key concerns. If not all stakeholders as well as key decision makers are involved, true. Information isn't always disseminated or easy to find. Yes, those are very valid things.
Kate, do
Yeah,
you have a little bit more time so we can don't like if
yeah.
you feel like you don't want to rush through it, I can stay and whoever wants to stay can stay, but if you want to leave, it's being recorded so you can still catch up on it later.
Yes, yeah. I'm definitely good to go over, and I would just want to be respectful of other people's time. So if you feel like you need to leave right on time, go for it. We'll only go over probably about 5 minutes. That's my expectation anyway. And okay, so looking at team two, they had either one of these. Which one did you guys choose? The top one or the bottom one? Do we remember? Less goose chases,
Top
validation.
one.
The top one, okay. Uh, Great. Okay, we could find the data points we want on demand. Yeah, less goose chase, validation, more objective design decisions. Builds are empathy with users for the designs and empathy on the team for decisions based on facts, not feelings. That's good. Decision tracker for impact. Oof, that's really good. And then better communication. Key concerns are ignoring or overlooking qualitative data. Could people interpret data in different ways? Missing context to data. Yeah, these are all very solid. I hope that you'll think about them more and maybe take them with you as I don't know if maybe some of you are in the middle of like an organizational redesign and you're like, hey, I think we should work a different way. Like these are some ideas you could be bringing to your leaders. Okay. So let's say we've got a little less than 10 minutes left, 8 or 9 minutes or so, and we have one last exercise. And this
Um,
is fairly simple. Oh, yeah, Heather.
Sorry, I didn't know if Zane wanted to add something. I
Oh,
accidentally muted you, Zane. Sorry.
Oh no, I didn't need to add anything, but thank you for that.
okay. Got it. Great. Okay. Sorry to blow through that, but this final exercise now will be for you and this co-created tool that hopefully you can take away with you as a individual contributor on your team who's looking out for your own impact, but also wanting to just understand how you fit into your organization, what kind of value you deliver. So here's where I have 3 categories. It's what dimensions, and by dimensions I mean uh, things you want to measure. So we could also say metrics, are what that you're interested in capturing, just you. And then I have your UX team and then your organization. So you can give us like 4-ish minutes to just populate as many as possible. And I started with some examples over here, where things that like I always want to track are like mentions of my work. Like I had the CEO at Lyft shouted out my research in like our 3Ps email one day, and it was like this huge deal on my team. And like he linked to my deck, he like cited one of the findings, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And so I brought that up for eternity in any promo context ever again. So I like to track those things: number of requests for collaborations, retention and churn impact, revenue impact, member satisfaction. But there can be, there's like an infinite amount of metrics that can be tracked. Okay, so I'll stop talking. I'm going to give us 4 minutes. I'm going to do calm flow. And then I promise I'll explain how we will use this and what we can do with it. And if you're confused or you want to think out loud, we can do that too. got about like 20-ish seconds left. These are really good responses and making me think about how we think about impact. Okay. Yeah, this is great. So the idea with what we would do here then is, again, we would do like a quick voting on just the top dimensions, like the top metrics. And then we would co-create our own little table here of things that we want to be able to track and measure. And so I have one of these that I use, and mine's like a little bit more simple, but it's like, what's the insight? What's the recommendation? What was the KPI that I measured it against? And then I would have periodic impact check-ins. I would have kind of like an overall status marker. Oh, you guys probably don't know what I'm talking about. Let me pull you to me really fast. And then, yeah, when the project started, when it ended, priority stuff. So this is kind of an example. So for you and what you know about your organization and about yourself, you would take these dimensions up here. You would select the ones that you feel like are the most important, and you can make your own table really with it. And then you have it for you to reference. And so that's what I was kind of hoping we would walk away with. And I had some examples down here too at the bottom for possible research metrics and possible design metrics. If these interest you, you can also just add them to your work. I always like to have a retention thing in there. I feel like no matter what team you're on, I was on a growth team at Lyft. I worked on in the memberships, Lyft Pink membership, so very growth focused. And so it was always kind of like a nice little insurance policy, I felt like, of having how my work affected retention. And I would look at the dashboard and track retention over time, and especially after we had big launches and things like that. So if you're somebody that like is growth focused or, wants to be able to connect your work to retention, might not be a bad idea to have one of those dimensions in there as well. But okay, so let's do a very quick voting session again. Which of these, and I apologize for how quick it is, but I'm gonna give everyone 2 votes and 1 minute. Ooh. And which of these do you want in your timeline or in your impact tracker? Oh, you can see what I'm voting on. Whoops. Oh, it doesn't include, oops, I don't think I included everything here. My bad, guys. Looks like you can only vote on these 2 buckets. I was gonna say too, impact can also be presenting your work. Like if you have the opportunity to present your work in multiple forums and continue to socialize your work and, achieving visibility for your work is something you should be counting as retention. As impact. That's, something I learned at the last few places I've been at, that whenever I would have research, I would share it for the memberships team. I would share it with the writer team. I'd share it with the design team, the research team, the revenue impacted decisions I made. Yeah, definitely these are the top ones. How many times I presented the research, mental models, NPS of features I've designed. Yeah, so you can see like these are some of the top ideas, and we could pull them down and we could say, I like time saved. That's kind of cool. And yeah, you can make your own little table. And you have all these metrics that you've measured, and maybe sometimes you don't fill them out because they're not relevant to a certain project or whatever it is. But like for this one, I would say, so like, let me duplicate this. So if I go here, I click duplicate. So yeah, NPS would be a good one to have, of like, maybe you do an NPS like pre-project and then an NPS post-project, so that you can say like, well, after I finished the work and it was launched, like the NPS increased from blah, blah, blah to blah, 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 or whatever. Yeah, I think I'll cut us here because we're a little over time, but Post project. But yeah, I think back to the original points of like just telling a credible, connected story, right? It's like, you're a researcher, you're a designer, you're someone that understands logic and you can build arguments and build cases, and that we should be putting just as much effort into doing that for our project work as for our own impact and how we are contributing to the success of the organization. Okay, I'm going to end us there, but you have access to this board so you can see more. If you have any other thoughts, if you've had things you've had success with, or if there are additional things that you would hope to learn about impact tracking, feel free to add those here. We can always do another workshop or build on this one. And then, as previously mentioned, the UX research resources that I use to for the secondary research and to inform this workshop are here, and some of them are really good. I recommend like the UX research at Google one, the one from design at Alaska Airlines. They're doing really cool stuff. This one's more product design specific, so maybe for the UX designers, the content designers, they would get a lot out of this one. I will say that it kind of all comes down to like research techniques and like measuring using research techniques like surveys and analytics and things like that. So there's not too much difference there with research and design. But yeah, thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Kate, for doing this. I had a lot of fun. And at the end, when everything started coming down in a table format, because my brain works in tables, I realized, oh, wow, how powerful that was to go through the process and like finally collect those
Right.
measurements. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't think about it all the time of like, yeah, I should just make this a category of things I measure. Yeah.
Hmm.
And you can edit it however you see fit. But yeah, so I have one that I use that I've been using for a while. A lot of my UX research friends who are much more successful than I got this from my friend who is a UX researcher at Google. That's like, she's the one that really, she's amazing. Her name's Zoe. And she is really the one that like got me thinking about like, oh yeah, I need to track my recommendations. I need to see how people are using them, or like what story am I telling about the value that I bring to this organization.